Today we're talking about the episode Dreams in Darkness for Batman the Animated Series, which originally aired 25 years ago today, November 3rd, 1992. Hello friends, welcome back to the show where we talk about Batman the Animated Series episode by episode on the 25th anniversary of their original air date. If you found this video, then I'm sure it's because you are a fan of Batman the Animated Series, grew up on the series, and became a huge Batman fan today. Well, then this is the show for you. Please consider hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss any of the episodes as we review them episode by episode. And be sure to watch till the end so you can see where I place this episode in my working list of favorite episodes that I have reviewed so far.
Such a pity, really. To think, after all he's accomplished, that he should end up here, like this.
Like I said, today we're talking about Dreams in Darkness, which I have to admit, going into it, I didn't quite remember this episode. Now, once I started watching it, there was a couple of images and scenes that were in this that sparked a memory, but in general, this episode I didn't remember. And I gotta say, for being a Scarecrow episode, it's pretty darn good.
Much worse than that.
But first, we're going to go to our 45-second rundown of the episode. We've got 45 seconds on the clock. Here we go. Jumping right into the mystery of this episode, we see Batman in a straitjacket at Arkham Asylum. The doctors come up and say that he's still having delusions, and then we hear Batman voicing over that this is where he ended up, and now let's go back to show how he got there. And he's talking about getting a tip that there was some activity going on at the spa, and so he goes there and finds this man that's trying to hook up some device to the drinking water. He tries to stop him, gas sprays in his face, and he begins having hallucinations, just like the guy that was trying to hook that up. As he starts babbling about these hallucinations, he realizes that the only person that could cause that kind of fear is the Scarecrow. So he starts heading towards Arkham Asylum. He thinks he sees Robin. He wrecks. They capture him. They take him in at Arkham, that he's thinking that he's finally given himself in, and he's trying to convince them, and he's got to protect the water supply, and finds out that the water supply is below Arkham, but they won't let him out to do that. And when they finally, he overcomes them, the guards there, or the doctors, the orderlies or whatever they are. He overcomes them, goes down in the basement, fights through his fears and hallucinations of all these other villains, and stops the water supply from being poisoned, sprays it back in Jonathan Crane, Scarecrow's face. He gets locked up in Arkham, and Batman finally takes the medicine and is from Alfred. I talk too much.
Haven't you listened to anything I've told you?
So you know me, I love the episodes that have that mystery right up at the beginning, that you don't know what's going on, why it's happening, and we just jump right into the middle of the story. And this is a prime example of that we see Batman in a straitjacket locked up in Arkham, which was a very similar, familiar image, which is, I think that's a cover of a comic, is it not? I'll be right back. Yes, look at that. The Last Arkham, Batman in a straitjacket. I forgot I had this. If I remember correctly, this was something about him trying to investigate somebody inside of Arkham and locks himself in, but then they eventually admit him because he seems like he is going crazy. That was a good book. I got to read that again. Anyway, so we see that image of Batman locked up in a straitjacket, which isn't uncommon. It's happened several times in comics and in the series. But to see that right up at the beginning, and especially for me, not remembering this episode, it was even better because I had no idea what he was doing in the straitjacket or how he got there. So I was right there being a kid again, wondering how this happened.
Bartholomew! We don't have any more time!
Now, there's always time to heal.
And then to hear his voiceover narrating the episode was even cooler because that is a direct relation to the old film noir detectives.
There's always time to heal, the doctor told me. But he was wrong. There was no time left. Not for me, not for him, and not for Gotham City.
So the first half of the episode was fantastic, where there was a strong mystery, there was a strong danger because we've got Batman locked up and knows that he has to accomplish this task or to stop the villain and save the city, but nobody believes him. And he's battling his own hallucinations. So he chose not to take the medicine that he was given by the doctor because it would put him out for a couple of days.
It will make you sleep for 2 days. Batman, you must let me treat you.
And I think that it's neat also that Batman doesn't actually get the cure for the hallucinations and the gas that he received until the very end of the episode. So it's not a matter of that he just takes a pill or an injection and he's all better. Now he can stop the bad guy. He's having to save the city from being poisoned at the same time of battling his hallucinations and battling multiple villains that aren't there. So one, that shows a great strength of Batman, but it adds this extra layer to the story, especially as a platform for Batman to have to battle a lot of villains. Like when we were talking about the strange case of Bruce Wayne, it was neat to have the multiple villains in the episode. This one brings them in, but they're all in Batman's head and they're all in his imagination. Robin is also in this episode, but again, just in his hallucinations.
It's too late for that, Bruce. You've lived in darkness too long.
All that's great. If I had to have a complaint about the episode, which I don't, but I'm going to give it, I have to say it'd be the Scarecrow again. I know that there are a lot of people out there that the Scarecrow is their favorite villain.
You've run out of time, Scarecrow.
And especially the way that he's being used in these episodes is the same problem with this. Although this is a great plot and a great story around him, when it came right down to it, the fact that he was poisoning the water supply, which, by the way, is also the plot of the Batman Begins, which comes out much later. So there's some inspiration pulled from this episode, I imagine. But when it comes down to it, the reason why Scarecrow is doing this is to study the mass effects of fear on the population of the city.
Time for the greatest controlled experiment in mass madness to finally begin.
Whereas we have villains like Joker that's causing chaos. We have Poison Ivy that is trying to save the plants and the vegetation in the city. We've got Catwoman that's always fighting some cause for the betterment of the animals. We've got Penguin that's on some great heist to get this special certain thing that nobody else has or would appreciate. We've got the Riddler that's created. We have just on and on and on, these villains that have great motives, and the Scarecrow just wants to study people being scared. And if that's his only MO, I don't know why we're using him so much in this series. I don't remember seeing him in the comics all that much, so maybe it was a villain that they had at their disposal to use a lot of. I don't know, but again, I just felt like the motives for him was kind of weak, but everything else around the episode was pretty solid. Something else that I always appreciated about this show was that there's a lot of iconic moments at the end of the episode. And I don't know if there was just a special focus that was put on that from Bruce Timm or the writers or director. And this is one of those situations when he finally lays down and lets Alfred give him the injection to cure these hallucinations. It's going to put him out for a couple of days. And he says that at least he's safe. And then the shadow of a bat in the cave covers him and as the symbolism of protecting him in his own cave. So when it came time to rank this episode, like I said, it's a solid episode. All the way around, there is some great elements to this episode. It's got a great mystery, a great story. It gets knocked down a little bit because Scarecrow just doesn't do it for me. And maybe it's just maybe it's just a personal preference. I know that a lot of people like him and probably don't like hearing me say this, but the motives of the Scarecrow, the plot just sort of started to crumble a little bit for me once the Scarecrow was explaining why he was doing this. But the whole arc of seeing Batman having to overcome his fears and that still carry this episode and hold it pretty high. So it does barely make it into the top 10 at the number 10 slot, beating out Pretty Poison in that top 10 grouping, because Pretty Poison has a great story and a great position in the arc of the characters, introducing Harvey Dent and things like that. But the mystery in this, which is one of the elements that I really love about Batman, is the mystery detective elements, is really strong in this episode. So this ends up in the number 10 slot of my favorite episodes so far.
Thanks, Alfred. It's good to know I'm safe here.
Let me know, what is your favorite Scarecrow episode or Scarecrow storyline? Because so far, we've seen, what is this, the third or fourth episode with Scarecrow? Although this one ranks really high and is the highest ranking of all the Scarecrow episodes, it's not because of the Scarecrow. So what's your favorite Scarecrow plot, if there is one, for the Batman the Animated Series? Let me know in the comment section below.
He was right.
I will be back tomorrow, Saturday, November 4th, with Beware the Gray Ghost. You don't want to miss that one, because that is an episode that is many people's favorite episode. So we're going to be looking at why that might be. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button too while you're at it if you haven't already, so that you can see all these episodes as they come out, because you don't want to miss any of them. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm Andy Knode, and I'll see you real soon.